A woman in Amherstburg is struggling to take her cannabis business to a higher level. She sells accessories. Now, that's not all. She also turns other people's cannabis into a chemical-free consumable product. But she says grant providers in the region won't take a chance on her business. The CBC's Sanjay Maru explains.
This is the Squishy Hippie. It's the brainchild of Alicia Jimmerfield, and she's come to be known for images like this, and this. No, it's not maple syrup you're looking at. It's actually the product of this machine, which heats and presses cannabis into a liquid form called rosin.
Usually when people make concentrates with cannabis, they use butane, propane, alcohol.
But Jimmerfield doesn't add anything to the cannabis. Here's how she does it. Once the machine reaches the desired temperature, the cannabis is squeezed under immense pressure, and this is what comes out. Now, Jimmerfield's goal is to take this machine mobile, outside her home, but she says that's not possible.
Basically, in Windsor and Essex County, they're not too keen on dealing with cannabis-based businesses at this moment in time.
We reached out to the Windsor-Essex Economic Development Corporation, but the organization said it does not comment on matters related to the cannabis industry. That appears to be a change in policy. In a follow-up email, we informed Wheatsea that this CBC story from back in March was featured on its website. We also informed Wheatsea that its director of business attraction was quoted in a July story about cannabis greenhouse tech. Here's the response from Wheatsea. As for previous stories, they are in the past. Our current no-comment policy stands. Now, over in Chatham, Kent, it's a bit of a different story. The municipality says it's provided grant money to one small business which sells cannabis accessories, and they're more than happy to do that for any business which is run by a good business plan and has the potential for success.
And Sanjay joins me now live in studio. Sanjay, there's still questions here in terms of the legality of this business. What's the latest information that you have here?
Well, just minutes ago, Chris, we heard back from Health Canada after we inquired this morning about the legality of Jimmerfield's business. They say you need a federal license to produce cannabis extracts such as rosin for commercial purposes. However, Jimmerfield says, to her knowledge, her business is legal because she's not adding anything to the cannabis. She's simply taking other people's cannabis and giving it back to them in a different form. She also says she's reached out to police in both Windsor and Amherstburg, the office of MP Taras Natashak, the health unit, the RCMP, the OPP, and of course, Health Canada. Now, Jimmerfield says she approached Wheatsea but was deemed ineligible for a grant solely because she runs a cannabis-based business. And so we asked Kingsville Mayor Nelson Santos about that. He's collaborated with Wheatsea for a number of greenhouse developments in the town, and he says the organization's no-comment policy, it's not a concern for him.
I recognize that their strategy has multiple balls up in the air at the same time, and they're challenged to ensure that the Windsor-Essex is a region that will be able to attract new business, and we're seeing it.
So the Windsor-Essex Economic Development Corporation, they won't comment on the cannabis industry, an industry that's listed as a top economic priority last year by Windsor-Essex businesses. How are people reacting to this, Sanjay?
Well, Chris, this story first appeared on CBC Windsor's website this morning, and it's generated a number of comments from people shocked about why one of our region's main economic organizations has a policy of seeming silence on one of the biggest growth industries in Canada. In fact, that CBC story, which was featured on Wheatsea's website, was immediately taken down when we informed the organization of its presence. Now, I can tell you it was very difficult to find people who would talk about this story. We reached out to multiple city councillors, business leaders, and Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkins. Now, Leamington Mayor Hilda McDonald, she's been a vocal proponent of the cannabis industry and says she doesn't want to weigh in out of fear of making enemies with Wheatsea. Now, one city councillor did get back to me, however. That's Kieran McKenzie of Ward 9, and he says the cannabis sector presents great opportunities which cannot be ignored.
They have a policy in place where they're not going to participate in the industry. I go so far to say as I think that that's unfortunate. With that said, I think there will come a day where all of our community partners will be fully involved in promoting investment in that sector, as well as understanding the opportunities that are there with respect to job creation and just general economic growth for the region.
And I also spoke with Lakeshore Mayor Tom Bain. He sits on the board for Wheatsea, and he wouldn't say whether or not he agrees with the organization's no-comment policy, but says it's possible it's nothing more than a result of Wheatsea getting adjusted to an emerging industry like cannabis. Chris.
Thanks, Sanjay. The CBC's Sanjay Maru, live tonight in our studio.